Welcome to episode 2 of Counting the Days. As you can see, my production standards are still, top shelf there. I have no idea. It just went through. Let's see. Synchronicity, whatever. I don't know what but I think he's trying to play on the word synchronicity, and I'm not sure what he was trying to say. But yeah, I have no idea what just got. Hey, what's up, KCA Randy? But I had like the starting soon screen going, and I don't have enough bandwidth. We already figured that out, so I'm going to be getting the next package up on the internet there and get some more bandwidth. And well, I guess I'll get to go see later what I actually broadcast there for the first thing. And then it just booted me, and you guys were all left alone. But anyway, episode number 2 of Counting the Days with your hosts, Speed of Sound and Scott Duke, who will be here in a moment. What was there was some mess? God damn it. But at any rate, we won't be here next Sunday because next weekend's the holiday. But we'll be back the week after that. Hopefully these next 2 weeks I'll be able to get my shit together a little bit here, and get a little bit better internet setup, and not have these problems again. And once again, my thanks to Geo Sam, who did the artwork on the title screen, if you even got to see it. Well, but at any rate, again, today's topic is synchronicity. Let's bring these guys in and get the Unabomber off the screen here. Who I am today.
And we lost John. Oh, and John's back.
John's back.
All right, guys. Hey, but I'm gonna put myself backstage here in a minute. Another spectacular start to the program. I imagine the Peabodys and the Emmys will, be coming pretty soon. Surely based on production values.
Production value alone.
Yeah. Yep. All right, guys. And then again, let's see if I can work this shit here, because we do have a number, and I did make a banner for it. Where the hell is it? And there's our call-in number. This is a call-in show. We'd love to hear from a theist. We're going to let Mike and Scott start, setting the table as far as this topic goes. And I already made my prediction as to what any theists are going to label synchronicity as. But take it away, Mike and Scott.
Okay. My little terrorist cat is terrorizing my other cat. And
your energetic cat, yes.
Yeah, terrorist cat.
Okay. Well, I hope you have a lot to say about synchronicity, because it's not that I have trouble wrapping my head around it. It's just the significance of looking at different definitions of it. And I couldn't find my book on Jung, so I'm relying on Wikipedia. Let's see. Synchronicity is a concept first introduced by Carl G. Jung, to describe circumstances that appear meaningfully related yet lack a causal connection, which sounds like a coincidence to me. I don't know. In contemporary research, synchronicity experiences refer to one's subjective experience that coincidences, there's that word, between events in one's mind and the outside world may be causally unrelated to each other, yet have some other unknown connection. Jung held that this was a healthy, even necessary function of the human mind that can become harmful within psychosis. So that's just kind of a general definition, and it may have been specified and expanded upon, by different sources. But what I'm thinking is maybe it's just the psychological state of feeling, like there's meaning in everyday events that seem to be nothing other than coincidences, but subjectively you feel like there's a greater meaning to it for whatever reason. So how accurate is that?
Well, I was hoping that Jung came up with like a natural version of this, right, or a psychological version of, because that's kind of what it sounds like in the beginning. But then down here at the end, let's see here, Jung used the concept of synchronicity in arguing for the existence of the paranormal. Jesus Christ, why? I mean, like, okay, he says that it's finding a pattern that doesn't seem to be causally related, right? Now, when we say that something isn't causally related, what we mean is that there isn't some local causality going on.
Right.
Because, to us, causality is always local. We don't look back in the past and determine, well, let's see, mom dropped me on the head here, so then I did this. And then, we don't put together the entire causal chain of the network of the universe, right?
Right.
Okay. So they're saying that, that we're walking along and we're thinking about something, and then suddenly we see something out there in the world that very much is related to what we were expecting or thinking about. So we see a pattern out in the world that doesn't seem to have any cause. It couldn't possibly have a causal connection to what we were thinking. So we say, oh my God, synchronicity. So, there's synchronous events, that sort of thing, right? Does that make sense? Okay.
It makes sense.
So it surprises us that there can't be a causal physical connection, and yet we're seeing something that seems very much connected to what we're thinking, right?
So is he saying that paranormal activities, ooh, that sounds like a movie, paranormal things are real, or that's kind of the explanation of why we feel like there is paranormal?
Well, it seems like what he's saying is that there is a causal connection, and that the fact that you were thinking it somehow made it happen in the universe, right? And that would be paranormal. Okay. If I could think about a big piece of fucking French apple cream cheese pie, and it appeared, right, all of a sudden, my son brought it down to me, and it's like, holy shit, that I did that with my mind. So what they're doing is they're finding something that has no causal connection that we can see, and then they're saying, oh, it is causally connected because our mind has intention, and we can think things into existence, right? And that is the kind of woo that, frankly,
watch out for that woo.
To put it bluntly, really pisses me off. It's just like it's idiocy, basically. Oh my God, there's something happening on the screen. John is producing in the background there, and we don't know what he's producing.
Yeah,
but anyway,
buffering circle.
Oh, there it is. He is producing something. So there it is, right there. So explain what happened to you with this, because this is very...
I keep forgetting about this, and I was supposed to talk about this right from the jump street, and this is what started all, or the second step that started this with me. But all right, what that is that's a stump that is just next to the back porch at my mother's place, the building that her and my stepfather had, that my sister now owns, and it has several apartments in it that. And then where their part of the building, their back porch and deck, this is a stump that's just off the side of that. And shortly after I had, a week or two after I had, watched that Stephen Colbert interview and was, moved by that, this stump here, I'd been doing some yard work. There was some weeds growing out of the top of it and everything, and I cleaned it all up. And then I walked by there several days later, coming from the store, And I set my bags down on the stump and I looked down and this is what I seen. Now, the crazy thing about this is it looks like my mother. Okay, when she was younger. In fact, I've got some pictures that I could show. Of course, who knows if I could find them right now. But and I was just like, I mean, I had a moment. I had a very emotional moment when I found this, and because it got me thinking about my mom again, and so I think the first person I shared it with might have been Mike. But at any rate, I showed it to a lot of different people and in my family and everything, my family members. And then as I've said many times before, I only encounter atheists online for the most part. Most everybody in my life is a theist. And I showed this to, and like there's this woman that at the Catholic Church where I volunteer sometimes. And I love her. I mean, she's a great lady, and she saw this and she was like just amazed by it. And of course she thinks, it's a message from God. She said that God did this, that it's a message from God and my mother that everything will be okay. Well, and I love this woman and I appreciate the sentiment behind what she said. Because she's all well-intentioned saying that, but I don't even know what that means. Like everything will be okay. Like, so like, what is that? So because of this, like no babies with cleft palates will be born anymore. I mean, I don't know what that means. Everything will be okay. But at any rate, to me, this is like what Speed talks about. Like, this is just an example of synchronicity. Okay. Now, most deists would say, oh my God, that looks like your mother. Well, that's without a doubt a message from God. To me, though, this is just an example of what Speed talks about these little gifts that the universe gives you, synchronicity. And as Scott mentioned, like with no real, causal link, to where some being made this happen or anything. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I can't explain why that happened, but other than to say it was the confluence of natural processes that affected that stump, made it look like it did. When you talk about biological and meteorological and whatever, and then you have to add a really important component to that. Not all just the processes that affected the stump, but then you have to add to that a human mind. Okay, I could have walked by that stuff for years and never even noticed it. Just so happened, coincidentally, I noticed it. And then I shared it with my family and my friends. And that's the component that's important, is now that human minds have been added to this, and you add all the abilities of the human mind in, like the, pareidolia, finding patterns, yada, yada, yada. But what the bottom line is that to people, to me anyway, and I would say to most atheists, they would say that this is just, it's not like a message from anybody. It's not, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but like this is what what Speed is kind of talking about, or what I understand from what I've talked to Speed about, is that this is, it's wonderful and I love it. And it made me emotional when I found it. My family loves it. But so I'm just going to like trail off there and let these guys go back at it.
Okay. So when you first sent me that picture, I'm like, okay, a stump. It's like, what, I don't see it. And then all of a sudden I started locking into it, and then I locked into the to the face. And now every time I see the stump, I see the face immediately.
Well, yeah. I definitely saw it as a face immediately. I don't know. I don't know that I did. Like when John first showed it, and I'm not sure where you first showed it at, but when you first showed it, I didn't quite get it as a face, and then it was pointed out, I believe, and then suddenly I can't not see it as a face. So,
well, yeah, and as you can see, like there's a little it's casting a shadow in front of the face, and it just so happened, that I was there at the right time of day to see it.
right.
I mean, it's not other times of day. It's not as visible. Like I've taken people over there to look at it at different times of day, and then I got to pull my phone out and show them the picture because you can't really pick it out.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's called bistable perception, and once you lock into it, your brain gets trained to see it in a certain way. If you could make my image here full screen, this is a Rubin vase. And when you look at it, you see a vase at first, some people. But then you look at it, you just fuzz your eyes a little bit, and you'll see two faces looking upward.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. And you can switch it, right? And they can, basically, they've done, pretty extensive work on brain scanning, people that do this. And like one neural net will lock in, and then the other one will lock in, and they can see it switch back and forth. So they can tell basically what you're looking at almost by which neurons are lighting up. And there's a little bit of there's some complicated neuroscience between all that happens, but no, the thing is that the atheist or the rational naturalist will say, oh, you're not really seeing anything. That stuff isn't really out there in the world. Like when you run into an event that is synchronous with something that you're feeling, thinking, or experiencing, they'll say, oh, it's not really out there. It's just pareidolia, or it's just, and they'll kind of blow it off. But that is also a mistake. Okay. Turning it into something supernatural is a big mistake, but just blowing it off is a mistake too. I will always say that synchronicity is the low-hanging fruit in the universe.
Well, sorry, Nara, but okay. So the other thing is like when you talk about pareidolia and other abilities that your mind has, and people want to, just focus on that. That's just part of it. That's just like one of the ingredients. Like your mind, this has been going on my whole life. Like I would remember being at my grandfather's house and looking at the drapes and seeing faces in the drapes and in the patterns on the drape. You know what I mean? It's just like, it just happens. It's the way your brain works, and you can't just write it off. Oh, it's just pareidolia. It's a lot of different things coming together to make it. And when I was fumbling a minute ago, what I was trying to say is like the reason that stump is an example of synchronicity is the way it works is now because my family's minds are in on it, and other people that have seen its minds are in on it. Because that stump exists and because these minds exist, now that stump has meaning. It wouldn't have had meaning if you don't add the minds to it. It's not that there's this meaning in the universe or, God's out there making meaning out of everything. It's the human minds are what makes the meaning. But anyway.
Yeah. And of course my iPad just totally failed. But the reason I say that, not to blow it off, is that it's out there in the universe. There are many different patterns. Okay. And I really wish my pencil hadn't died on me, but there are, like, you are an organism and you are in a place in the universe, right? And you're looking outward with these various senses. So the universe is interacting with you. Okay. And there is a relationship between both you and the physicality around you. Okay. And you are that physicality. I mean, you're part of it. You are that thing. So, I mean, you have to understand that we are fucking organisms and we have brains made of meat. And we basically, we're being acted upon by the universe around us, right? And that stump is one of the things that are acting on you, okay? And depending on your position in the universe, you're going to see one pattern or another pattern or another pattern. Those patterns are actually out there physically in the universe. That's what people just cannot get their minds around. that these patterns are everywhere depending on what your perspectival relationship to that object is. You are going to see various patterns in and out, right?
And, and those perspectives are I don't want to, I guess, colored, coded by your psychological states, your emotional states as well.
Yeah, I will totally reject that just out of hand. Fuck psychology. Fuck mental states.
I think psychology has a lot to do with what you get out of experiencing synchronicity.
Psychology is our idea about what we are and what our minds are. Okay, it all renders to I am a bunch of physical matter sitting in a place in physical space, and there is an interaction between those two things. It hasn't, and then we like to say, "Oh, psychology," but then when we do psychology, what we're doing is we're using our mind to organize our mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an inherent mistake of philosophers of the mind. When they try to use the mind to figure out what the fuck the mind is, okay, I wipe all of that away and say, fuck psychology, fuck the mind talk, fuck consciousness talk. None of that stuff exists. All there is physicality. It's you moving in the universe in a very, now granted, your brain is a very complex little mess of interconnected neurons, a lot of relationships, right? So it's very, very complex. So something very complex happens to you when you see the stump, okay? There's a complex bit of physicality going on, but it's all physical. And whatever's happening in you over some period of time, you might want to call it psychology. But then what you're doing is you're using your mind to understand your mind. It's kind of like using your eyeball to look at your eyeball. Like right now, right now, turn your eye around and look at your eyeball without looking at a mirror.
Look at your eyeball without looking at a mirror.
Right. Use your eye to look at your eyeball. That's what philosophers of the mind do. They use their mind to look at their mind. Have you seen it yet? It's really hard to do. Yeah. It's kind of a Zen trick, using your eyeball to look at your eyeball. Ellen Watts famously came up with that one. The foolishness of using your eye to look at your eye. It's just not something you would even attempt to do, right? And that's basically what a lot of philosophy of the mind is. So calling it psychology, it's all well and fine, but what the fuck is that really, Scott? What is psychology?
It's for the purposes of talking about spirituality, it's just basically your emotional state of being that you identify subjectively. So I don't know.
Give me a lot of words there, but you haven't told me what it is.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not. You fucking wake me up.
Yeah, I know. We woke you up.
And you want me to explain what psychology is.
Yeah.
Anyway. Sorry, I'm not going to do it.
So look, I had to jump back in here because, Speed's kind of losing me at this point, and my apologies, but I understand what Speed's trying to say is that you can't point to psychology as the explanation for everything that happens, in your mind, but you have to talk about psychology because that's how we communicate about what's going on in our minds. That image exists on that stump, but there's a psychology behind having seen that image, and I don't know about the fuck psychology shit. I understand what you're saying, Speed, like that you can't just say that all of these experiences are based on psychology, that there's a lot more going on there. But I guess I'm with Scott is like not throwing it out the window.
Well, I guess my question would be for Speed, if we're fucking psychology, then what is the significance of synchronicity to a secular mode of spirituality?
Okay, so
I mean, is that what how do you take away a meaningful idea of spirituality if there's no psychological elements involved with synchronicity?
okay, so I'm this little guy right here, this little buzzing little creature, right? With a lot of energy coursing through me, right?
Buzz, 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 buzz. Yes.
Buzz, right? And I'm in a universe, right? And I'm not just in a universe, I am a part of this universe. This universe basically shoots through me, right?
And someone argue that you are the universe.
Yeah, there is no I. That's basically
Right.
what you come up with. And that has to do with our topic from last week about when you completely lose this illusion of yourself, that you will end up understanding that you are just a part of the universe moving through the universe. And of course, you know a lot of things about yourself, just like you know a lot of things about your car or that jar of peanut butter up in the cupboard. But yourself is kind of the same thing, right? Okay, so what in the iPad? Give me a break. Low battery, my ass. So when I say fuck psychology, I'm of course using my scientism, right? Which starts with looking at what we are in the universe first, right? So what are we in the universe? We know we have this complicated brain, and that everything basically that we are talking about as psychology is somewhere involving that complicated brain, right? And it is that complicated brain interacting with the universe that basically is what we're talking about. That is psychology. Now, there is no reason in principle why we could not reduce that to physics. If we want, like if we had a lot of time and we could take you for one slice of your life, one second slice of your life, and we could write down everything that was happening physically around you and within you, within your mind, right? We could write a physical description of that entire state, right, over that period of 1 second. And of course, it would be an evolving state, right? So you are an evolving state in the universe, and there's no reason why we cannot apply scientific principles to all of that and figure out what's going on. And now when you're looking at the stump, we're talking about photons, and we're talking about the stump itself and the composition of the cellulose in the stump and the light coming down and the trees shading it and, whatever. You understand it is all physical, okay? But now the interest is that human beings are a kind of a thing where we accumulate past physicality, okay? In other words, it would be like if you had a lump of clay, and every time the clay was like, say it was like walking clay. Oh my God, that's the most frightening thing ever. But if you had a lump of clay and it was being operated on by the universe, okay, that clay. Somebody's getting a phone call.
We're getting a fax.
Oh, a fax. Okay.
Remember those?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We got a caller. So anyway, that clay is being modified, and it has a historicity to it. It's accumulating. Your brain accumulates all of these past patterns. That's how we develop as human beings. And we learn things like language, and we learn these dumb words like spirituality or woo or whatever the hell. But you're accumulating all these patterns as you go. So then when a new pattern impinges upon you, okay, you will lock into it with all of those previous patterns that you've recorded in the universe, and you will make your own meaning within your own self. And that is where meaning exists until I talk to you about it. And then now meaning exists between two of us, right? So like we're like interchanging patterns and we're interchanging meaning. But it's still, okay, it is all physical, but when you say just physical, like some people like to use the word just, when they talk about scientific reduction, and just misses the fucking point by a million miles. Okay, this is so incredibly wonderful what's happening to us. Did you get a call, John, on our...
Well, right, yeah, I was waiting for you to take a breath. I didn't want to interrupt you. Plus, I'm having a coughing fit. But yes, I have Doubting Thomas on the line. And I think he has a story that he wanted to share about synchronicity, but go ahead, Doubting Thomas.
Can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
All right. Dudes, I have a story that happened to me last night.
Ooh.
This is recent.
And it was like fucking, it's one of the wildest things that's ever happened to me in my life.
Okay.
I've been having trouble. I've been having trouble in my marriage.
Okay.
I personally have been very depressed. Like, I've been dealing with depression all my life, right?
Yep.
And this last year, like, my wife and I are having a pretty rough time right now because of me. Basically, like, my depression is dragging her down, right? And I've talked to doctors or whatever, and I started a new medication yesterday. I don't know if that has anything to do with this, but went out to the bar last night because her daughter is visiting us from Calgary.
Okay.
She likes to play pool. So we went out to the bar, and I was just standing there talking to my wife, and this guy comes up out of fucking nowhere, man. Like, he was talking to my wife. He was basically hitting on my wife, which was no big deal. Like, we were both pretty flattered about it. And he proceeded to start telling me a story about his life, and his name was Tom too, which was interesting. And he started telling me a story just out of the blue about how he had fucked up and let his wife go, and he was telling me, so you don't fuck up and let you. He basically told the story of my life. Like, this is a complete fucking stranger. I've never seen this guy before.
Yeah.
And I'm standing next to my wife. And I know, like, she's picking up on this because it's pretty in tuned. And she's pretty in tuned. And I'm listening to this guy, and I'm thinking to myself, are you fucking kidding me, man? Like, and I didn't say anything to the guy, but, like, as he's talking to me, I'm thinking, dude, you were fucking look right through me right now. Like, telling everything that's gone on in my life. It was just like, I could pass it off as coincidence, right? You know what I'm saying? I could very easily say that was just coincidence or whatever. And I'm not saying it was like a spiritual experience, but it was a moment of fucking, it was, I don't know if it wasn't synchronicity, I don't know what the fuck it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just had to share that with you. And I was actually thinking about, God, I got to fucking tell Speed and the guys about this. And then I realized, fucking Sunday morning and you're on, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So anyway.
Yeah, those kinds of things that's what I mean by the low-hanging fruit in the universe. You know, you run into a person, there's an exchange of him looking at you, looking at your wife, looking at your relationship, whatever, for whatever reason, you run into this person and he starts talking about something that just absolutely synchronizes with something that you're going through. That happens all of the fucking time. And now one of the reasons, and I have so much I can say about taking one's wife for granted, because I had a major experience with that in my very early 20s, you know, where I did it to Carol Jean. Yeah, the one that started this counting the days thing off when she died. Anyway, I had an experience with her where after being married to her for 2 years, I was completely not seeing her, but rather seeing what I thought she was or what my idea of her was. And so I kind of fell out of love with her, right? Well, then we got into this whole hippie psychedelic thing, and we had some experiences. And what LSD does is it turns all of your senses on so that you shut the fuck up and you start seeing what's around you. And I started seeing her. And once I saw her, it was just like with the Rubin vase, right? I could not stop seeing her for who she was. And it completely changed my being in love with her. I was totally in love with her again, as if I had never laid eyes up on her before. And that went for 2 years.
Wow.
Before alcoholism fucked it up. But, alcoholism does tend to intervene. But I mean, so that experience, but it's the same thing when you say what happened to you in the bar last night with this guy, when you say it's just a coincidence. Well, what the fuck is a coincidence? It's basically
exactly.
two patterns that happen together, right? Why are we using? I mean, just as a 4-letter word, we're almost saying, "Oh, fuck that experience." Right. It's just a coincidence. That's what I mean by atheism often missing the mark. When you get into this like rational view of the universe, you tend to miss the mark. I mean, you can't say, "Oh, that was just an event or just an emotion," right? I mean, fuck you.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just, right? So what happened to you was like a significant piece of your life, and your life is just all patterns all the way down, right?
Right.
I thought it was turtles all the way down.
No, it's all patterns all the way down.
I put something else in the side chat out there too. Like I came as close to seeing an aura as I ever had last night.
Yeah.
Like I was outside, and this was a different person. I was outside, and he was talking, and all of a sudden, like there was sky in the background behind this guy. We were out on his deck, and all of a sudden, everything except this gentleman, like disappeared. Like the whole background, the sky, everything went blurry, and I was able to see just this individual. And my wife basically put it like you were in the now, like you were actually in the fucking present moment, right? If that makes any sense. Like everything else, it was like if you were watching TV and the whole screen went blank behind the person that was on the TV, and you were just seeing the silhouette of that person.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I sound like I'm crazy right now, man, but it blew me away, man. Like I almost had at one point I thought I was dying. Like, is this what it's like? Is this what people see when they're fucking dying, man? It was weird. Like I almost had to tell my wife, I think I'm fucking having a heart attack or I'm losing my mind, man. Right?
Yeah. Well,
anyway, yeah.
It could be that you're on the verge of a wonderful experience that very few people have, called a nervous breakdown.
Or somebody roofied him.
Yeah, you could have been roofied.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, you do not want to discount nervous breakdowns. They're pretty fucking cool. I mean, in the scheme of things, when you're under a lot of stress, okay, oftentimes your mind will just get into states and it will open up, and it'll open up and that's exactly what happens to the born again Christian experience. Like they just happen to be like in a church and somebody's telling them about Jesus, and at the same time everything is falling apart in their fucking lives, right? And they're under a great deal of stress,
right?
And then all of a sudden their mind changes a little bit. They end up with a different pattern in their mind. And if you were to put them in a brain scan, you would see the physicality of what's happening to you, right? There's a different pattern, and all of a sudden you see everything in a new way, and it's like, holy fuck. It's like, holy fuck. And you're having a spiritual experience, which is another word for nervous breakdown, basically. So anyway, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
That before, but that makes sense. A spiritual awakening is a fucking breakdown.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, and nervous breakdowns don't get they get a lot of bad press, but they're good things.
Right.
I'm calling this a story of two Toms.
Right. All right. I'm going to go. I got things to do. I'm going to listen to the outfit yet for a while, but I had to share that with somebody, man. And what better place than you guys?
Well, we appreciate you sharing it, and it will make me be thinking about things quite deeply.
Reach out on email. We have to talk privately about that other thing.
Okay.
Okay.
For
Okay.
sure.
All right. Thanks for calling in, Thomas.
Yes. Have a great day, John and Scott and Mike.
Okay.
Yep. You as well. You as well.
Has anybody realized yet that it's not a good idea to talk to me in the morning? Because I'm kind of like on in the morning.
Well, like, what the fuck, man? Like, when we conceived of this, it was like we figured our old brains would be working better in the morning. And then here I fall apart. And now you're saying that.
Well, no, it's not what I'm saying is it's not a good thing to have my brain working well. Okay, that can be detrimental.
Well, I mean, and I was so looking forward to this topic because I've talked to you about it before, and then it's, I don't know, like Scott kind of looks like a deer caught in headlights because I just up until today, like I thought I was on the same page with you as far as synchronicity, and now I don't know, like, because I could have swore today or yesterday we were talking about the psychology of the brain, and that was part of it, and then you started out with, well, fuck psychology. Like I'm kind of lost on that part of it.
Well, psychology is fine if you can tell me what the fuck it is.
It's just it's a way to talk about what your brain is doing, basically, and what, how the world around you is affecting your brain, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of so the problem with it is that okay, we have psychology and we got down here we got emotions, but there isn't really such a thing. So we have all these words for things that go on between us, and it's ingrained in our culture and it's ingrained in our language. And the way we think about our minds is basically something that is linguo-cultural. It's linguistic and cultural, okay? And it is not necessarily very good for you when you're trying to get down to what is really going on in the universe, what's really happening in your life, right? So we have all of these, like shit. You remember what the fuck's his name? My high school principal. Who the fuck used to call him Freud? Oh, my friend's father used to call Sigmund Freud Freud. Anyway, we have the id and the ego, and we have all of these constructs we've come up with. But what I'm saying is that those things have a physical reality in neuroscience, in our lives, and you would have a fuck of a time trying to find the id or the ego or these emotions when you look at it physically, right? And so what I'm suggesting is that we broaden our perspective and get out more deeply into the physical universe, into naturalism, and start looking at how fucking complex and wonderfully patterned all of this is. Okay? I mean, if you look at a field of stars, you can find all of these relationships and patterns, but it is still a field of stars. Those stars are really out there delivering their light in that certain pattern. And you're this machine that is recording those patterns and interacting with them. And that's what we are. We're like we're like a hot little spot in the universe that interacts with everything around us and records our history. So it builds up. So the complexity of being a human being is just immensely wonderful, in that we can accumulate synchronicity all through our lives. Basically, when you learn a word, what you're doing is accumulating synchronicity, because your parents said it here and they said it there and somebody else said it here, and you're putting all that together and you're deriving a connection, right? And you are doing that. You are this hot little monster, this little being that's just like boiling chemicals, making, doing all of this patterning with the universe around you. Does that make sense? And you don't need to, you know, if you say,
I mean,
go
what
ahead.
I'm like what I would agree with is that no matter what phenomenon you're talking about, you could reduce it to its physical components. You know, like the human mind has a physical basis in your brain. You know, so I understand the physicality, but I still don't see how that negates the framework of how we talk about what's going on in the mind. You know, I'm still hung up on the, well, fuck psychology. I mean, because psychology is the way we talk about what's going on in our mind, you know, irrespective of what the causation of what's going on in our mind is. But at any rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, Scott.
I was just thinking, and of course, with the idea of hooking that to spirituality, you know, which is ultimately what we're doing on this series, is the fact that seeking explanations may or may not help with the experiencing of spirituality. If does a need to explain synchronicity help us, you know, achieve those moments
no,
of spirituality? And so,
only if you're doing something else, right? Like, okay, you see the event, and if you think, oh my God, or woo, or a ghost, or I'm being haunted, or if you think some other silly thing, then you need to look at the physicality. Other than that, no, you don't. You can just experience the synchronicity. So what you said is perfectly accurate, and very very important, that we don't have to fucking analyze everything down to molecules, right? We can just be the thing that's experiencing the thing.
Right, I guess.
Well, real quick, I'm sorry, but I got to address Doubting Thomas. My apology. Right, right. There are things more than the physical, but what you're saying is exactly what I was saying. Is that it's caused by the physical. Like, you know, like we have concepts in our mind that aren't tangible, but the fact that they're in our mind has them tied to the physical because it's our brain, but our mind resides in our brain. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, Thomas.
Yeah, but I think in some way, when you say there is more than the physical, you may be using that 4-letter word. Oh, it's just physical. No, it's not just physical. It's like, wow, holy shit, look at this. It's physical. I mean, it's like, when we reduce something to, and by saying it's physical, you should be on your knees worshiping that. I mean, you shouldn't be saying, oh,
maybe I used the wrong word saying reducing it, but the thing is that's what it is. Like, you know, you have this concept in your mind that's not tangible, and it exists because it's something you conceived of. But at the end of the day, even though it's not a tangible thing, it's tied to the physical because it came out of your brain.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is that in a lot of ways, it's almost heresy to discount the absolute wonder of what is going on physically within and around us. You know, that we are really incredibly little pieces of matter. You know, when you think about it, and we're our own little incredible synchronicity meaning machines, right? And we're constantly interplaying with, you know, with the universe and finding all these meanings. And I think one of the things that leads to depression and getting mentally sick and mentally ill at ease in your life is when we end up rationalizing too much, and like we're in our mind too much, and we're not letting the universe imbibe its special fucking complexity upon us from the outside. So we shut it off. You know, we spend a lot of times just cogitating, thinking, rolling around, you know, like having dialogues in our mind instead of shutting the fuck up and looking, opening our eyes, opening our bodies to what, you know, what is going on around us. And that makes us sick, I think. And so spirituality is kind of being able to open up all the channels and let it all flow in and let it move you and interact with you rather than, you know, like ignoring everything that's happening around you. You know what I mean? Maybe not.
I think that we have to drop acid and have this conversation again.
You see, that's the problem. You guys have not done 200 acid trips like I have.
Where's Kafai when you need him?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You know,
I haven't done 200, but I've done a few.
Yeah, well, you know, right around when you get to in the 180s, you know, you start to realize that speed of sound is correct.
You know, real quick, I put it in the side chat, but I don't have a link, so it's not clickable. But I got a notification on Tobin Templeman's channel. He posted a jam session, just maybe last night, uploaded something like that. So I put it in there for you all to go experience for all our listeners. Maybe you can subscribe to Tobin Templeman's channel and give him all sorts of thumbs up.
I did get that notification, by the way.
We are not, doesn't look like we're getting another caller. And we were talking last week about if we don't have callers, we're going to maybe try and cut it off in an hour. So I think we ought to start wrapping her up for today.
We started at 7 and went for an hour almost. Wow.
Yeah.
Everybody good.
Yeah, before we wrap up.
Well, right. And I was going to, you know, ask you what you had coming up on your channel, but go ahead with what you were going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, weather report tomorrow, possibly a cancellation of the weather report again on Wednesday. And going to premiere this, I think, at 7 p.m. tonight after I can download it. And I just wanted to apologize to Scott for, you know, me jumping in and saying fuck psychology, but I'm trying to make a point. I'm trying to make a point that, you know, our ideas about psychology are like really, really in the ancient. I mean, they're not very fucking good. You know, most of the time, psychologists are talking out of their asses. You know, the
other thing, my question is did you get consent from psychology before you fucked it?
Consent is a very important factor.
Now I feel bad. Yeah, there was no consent.
Feel kind of icky.
I just kind of.
We need to get a psychologist in here to help you work through that.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's get a psychologist. Oh God, I got some friends that are psychologists that are not going to like me today. Anyway.
So so watch the weather report, which is why when I put in the description, I put Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and I added to it, or whenever they decide to stream. And the reason I did that, there was an example of it yesterday. It wasn't no Monday, Wednesday, Friday yesterday, but there was something on the channel. I don't know if you call it the weather report, but yeah.
No, that was a Rationality Rules rant.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not rationality. What's Andrew Cummings?
Rational empiricist? Or?
Yeah, rational empiricist rant.
Rational empiricist rants. Yep, it was on geology. We did that.
Yeah, it was actually a very well put together rant.
and
I was kind of proud of Andrew. I mean, he knows he knows a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Who the hell's saying? Somebody's saying still running from Jill. Who are they talking to?
I don't know.
Yeah, gummy bear. Interesting. Still
Who's
running
gummy
from
bear?
Jill.
Who's running from Jill?
Who would be running from Jill?
Anyway, to plug that episode last night with Andrew, he and Orge did a really good job of exposing some of this bullshit that you're getting from the geologists or so-called geologists on Standing for Truth channel, and
right.
people should watch that. It is just The bullshit is thick over there on Standing for Truth.
The bullshit is strong in this one.
Yeah. So anyway.
Oh, master, I cannot get the fruit out of the jar.
So anyway, okay, just summarize what I was saying. Naturalism fucking rocks. The universe is wonderfully and awesomely complex. Don't ignore that shit. You don't need anything other than naturalism or the physical to have unbelievable meaning in your life, to see patterns, to find synchronicity in the universe. All you have to do is just fuck around, change your mind a little bit, and open yourself up to the wonders that is physicality and naturalism. And there is no goddamn woo.
Real quick inquiry. Did you have your coffee this morning?
Me?
Yeah.
I have had a lot of coffee.
You've had a lot of... Okay, that may be the explanation.
I had coffee.
A lot of fucking coffee.
Plus, I've been partaking of my medicine all morning.
Yeah.
I got to take some medicine before. Somebody woke me up suddenly, and which is good because I don't know why my alarm didn't go off. Or it says it did. Maybe I just was too deep in my my subconscious to hear it, and didn't get to take my morning meds.
Scott, okay, you've heard of a French press, right? You take a bunch of you take like a pound of coffee grounds and you put hot water on it and you let it cook for a long time. Right. You get all like caffeine, and then you squeeze it out like a French press, right? And you've heard of an IV bag, right? An IV where you stick it right into your vein. Okay, put the two concepts together.
Okay, put some coffee in my veins.
French press the coffee into your veins directly. That's what I do.
That's direct access.
That's what I do every morning. So I combined the French press with the IV, and I made this wonderful, wonderful coffee maker. And that I offer as an excuse for everything I've said today. So
hey, real quick, Doubting Thomas.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, yeah, you can just put the link out there before you hit end, and he can hop into the backstage if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, do that, and then hit end, and
and
get out of here.
Have you checked your email, Speed?
Me?
Yeah, that's what Doubting Thomas wants you to do.
Oh, I could do that. Well.
So, all right, come on in, Doubting Thomas, and I'll put you backstage before I get out of here because I'm going to be leaving as soon as we end this. I got some shit to do. But, yeah, so, again, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Kind of got an idea percolating for a topic, but Mike didn't seem too impressed with it, but we'll figure something out. Thanks for being here. Check us out on Twitter. We post on Twitter every day with how many days old we are. You know, if you have some kind of benchmark coming up, like, you know, something that ends in double zeros, you know, or something like that, like you're 20,000 days old or any kind of noteworthy, let us know. Go over to Twitter and, you know, tweet out how many days old you are every day with us if you'd like to. And count the days with us and make every day count. And everybody have a good rest of your weekend.